whereas the blood of the carcass over which Allah's name wasn't said remains within, so that in most cases this flesh is clearly and obviously full of germs.
The findings were more than amazing. They even surprised the researchers themselves, who never expected that the effect of the simple statement, Allah is greater, would be on such a wide and important level. All the blood and tisular tests were in favor of the divine statement. The meat over which Allah is greater was pronounced was pure, clean of any pollution and any mark of blood blotches, germs, or microbe colonies. As regards the meat over which the statement had not been said, following the blood and tisular tests, and with the displayed pictures, we can see the samples were infected and polluted to an extreme extent that cannot be neglected or disregarded. We had to put this to the test, for testing is the most potent proof of what we say. We have the tisular sections and the anatomical sections, as well as the laboratory and blood analysis, which proves that there is a great difference between the meat over which the words Allah is greater were pronounced and the meat over which it was not. Then, since we live in an age where people don't accept anything except after placing it in tests and obtaining evidence and proof, so we can practically say that we may now know the truthfulness of this strange phenomenon. All of use and all mankind feel astonished at the significant difference between the samples over which the words Allah is greater were pronounced and those over which it was not. As soon as the team of the medical and laboratory research had declared these amazing findings, the media began to pay attention to this unprecedented medical discovery. London Radio was the first station to transmit and broadcast this news. Here is a part of what was transmitted, as declared by the research team.
Reading and hearing about the enormous cry raised by the humane scholar Muhammad Amin Sheikhu, signs spread all over the streets calling the Syrian people to check the sources of the meat they eat and the way in which the animals were slaughtered. Our newswoman in Damascus, Salwa al-Istuwani, saw these signs and sent us the following message.
These words were written on large notices covering the streets and published through tapes so as to spread the news of a medical discovery based on God's wisdom. The Damascene scholar Muhammad Amin Sheikhu was the first to draw attention to the situation as modern life began to diminish certain characteristics of Islam. His medical discovery concerns the way of slaughtering animals, which can be eaten after pronouncing the statement, Allah is greater, at the moment of slaughtering.
A French station has transmitted the findings of this discovery in French to the countries of the European Union. This caused the largest center for chicken slaughtering in the French city of Toulouse to take up these findings and employ a man to pronounce the name of Allah over each carcass to be slaughtered there.
The news of this exciting discovery spread through all news agencies, newspapers, as well as local, Arabic, and international magazines. In addition, Arabic and international satellite stations had interviews with Abdul Qadir al-Dairani and the members of the medical team, which shed further light on their findings. The researchers published their results in a book dedicated to Muhammad Amin Sheikhu, under the title of Allah is Greater, Be Kind to Animals. A man may ask, how can an abstract group of words cause a tangible effect that is both noticeable and practical? What is the secret hidden beyond the words, Allah is greater, so that it makes the meat of carcasses sterilized and free of blood? I say, in our world, when the Almighty God offered His trust to all spirits, as the noble Quran indicates when it says, we offered the trust to the heavens, earth and mountains, and they refused to bear it. Why did they refuse? For they feared it. They feared to fail, and then the fire of sorrow, regret and loss would flame inside them. Man bore it, he said. O Provider, it is mine. At that time, the universe and all the creatures in it accepted to be subject and servant to man, especially the cattle and birds, which chose to sacrifice their bodies for man, who had undertaken to bear the trust of God. So to be grateful for this great sacrifice, man should return charity for charity, by pronouncing the name of his Provider loudly when slaughtering these animals, so as to give them a lift, elevating them from their spiritual worldly bliss to a more exalted and sublime one. The Almighty says in the Al-Hajj Surah, so as to pronounce the name of Allah over the animals which He has granted them.
Allahu Akbar.
In fact, when they put off their physical garment, their veil will be removed, and they will be abstract spirits, all of which are merely sounds, tastes, and feelings. They will understand the words, Allah is greater, in any language of the world. So, when pronouncing in the name of God, Allah is greater, their spirits will fly as a ray up to their Creator, full of happiness and everlasting delight, when looking at the Creator of beauty and origin. They will be pleased with His overwhelming generosity, and God will be pleased with them, for they have sacrificed their bodies for man, who is honored by Allah. They shake and tremble as they become flooded by the seas of bright light which He bestows on their bodies, making their blood flow out in plentiful amounts, and through which any damage is released from their bodies. God says, eat of that over which the name of Allah was pronounced.
Some people think that drugging the animal, electrocuting it, or making them unconscious by gas before slaughter protects them from convulsions, contractions, and the pain of dying. They claim that there are many ways of being kind to animals, whilst the Islamic method has no humanity.
Concerning the Islamic method of slaughter and the other ways which are not Islamic, the English scholar Sonton studied them and gave lectures on this subject at Cairo University in 1956. He said that the slaughter that is not Islamic increases the blood pressure of the carcass from 14 to 28, double the normal pressure. This tires the brain and torments the animal, although Westerners keep emphasizing that no concussion or contractions take place that may alienate the spirit and cause great anxiety for the animal. In contrast, the Islamic method relaxes the carcass and lessens the blood pressure from 14 to 0. Thereafter, all the blood is released from the carcass due to the body's natural contractions, and this results in the rose color.